Warning, this video will contain dark subject matters and sensitive content that might not be suitable to some viewers. The following subjects may be listed below on screen. Without further ado, please enjoy the video. The Taimanin series as a whole is a niche franchise that not a lot of people talk about. However, it still thrives really well even today. Although, what about the OVAs themselves? I've binge-watched all Taimanin OVAs, and the question that I'll be asking among all of us: has the Taimanin OVAs fell off? Firstly, what is the Taimanin series? Now before I start explaining, this whole section is dedicated to newcomers who are unfamiliar with the franchise. If you're already acquainted with the series itself, please skip to the timestamp listed on screen manually or via description or comment section. The Taimanin franchise, as I'd like to summarize, is about attractive busty ninjas, aka anti-demon ninjas slash Taimanins, whose objectives is to slay demons as well as humans that turn to the dark side. Humans and demons have made an unspoken rule to never cross to each other's world. However, in the near future age, this rule becomes a suggestion to some, thus leads the Taimanin on their mission to hold all evil influences that plague Tokyo itself. The stories of the Taimanin proceed on through visual novels, with one of them I'm going through right now, telling the story of a world where humans and demons intersect, and multiple Taimanin heroine storylines with numerous routes they'll end up in depending on your actions. Though this series isn't without a gacha side either, as there is Taimanin RPGX, ActionTaimanin, and Taimanin Asagi Battle Arena. However, that seemed to have been closed last year, so yeah, rip TABA. Now you're probably wondering why gacha is even being mentioned to begin with, but I believe it is worth the mention as a good portion of the audience, I'm sure they're here for the franchise for that good sauce. Yes, not safe for work content plus gacha, which make a brilliant combination if you think about it, though you'll only find it on Taimanin RPGX, since nowadays ActionTaimanin goes by safe for work, and TABA is 6 feet under, so yeah. Anyhow, with that out of the way, that is my light summarization overview of the Taimanin franchise. So now let's move on to the OVAs itself. This is the OVA overview. For the sake of ordering, I'm going to organize and present each title by play order as best as I can for in-game timeline and story reasons. This is all the series in story order: Taimanin Asagi, Taimanin Murasaki, Makai, Kishi, Ingrid, Taimanin Asagi 2, Taimanin Shiranui, Inyokuo no Dorei, Shoufu, Taimanin Yukikaze, Taimanin Asagi 3, Taimanin Asagi Toraware no Niku, Ningyou. All these animation titles were made by a couple of studios, and with that known, we'll begin on the first title. Starting off with Taimanin Asagi, the beginning of the OVAs themselves, with 4 episodes with the classic Murakami-styled animation. It does have a bonus episode, but it isn't all too important to the story, at least I'd say. This series aired in 2007 by Pixie Soft, and is the first adaptation to the novel version of the Taimanin Asagi game made by Anime Lilith and Black Lilith. Taimanin Asagi begins with 2 ninjas dueling it out upon skyscrapers, taking the fight aerial across Tokyo, with one of the ninjas coming out victorious, the strongest renowned Taimanin, Asagi Igawa. After her nemesis have been defeated, Asagi retires from the combative lifestyle as an anti-demon ninja to focus on her relationship with Kyosuke Sawaki. However, murders of other Taimanins have ramped up in recent times of 2072. This causes for concern that even Elder Igawa urges Asagi to investigate such matters, though she rejects as she is sure she has given up her Taimanin life. Unfortunately, this doesn't last long, since one night Asagi was supposed to meet with Kyosuke, but he never shown up, and all seemed well when he arrived at the Igawa dojo, but suddenly Asagi as well as Kyosuke were ambushed by the very same being Asagi defeated years ago, her nemesis, Oboro. Asagi was sure that she had killed her when she sliced her head off during the battle, despite that Oboro explains she was brought back by a particular demon and vowed revenge upon Asagi. Oboro's first act was to humiliate Asagi and Kyosuke, and after the dust settled, they were captured. Asagi was tortured and had her body remodeled in demeaning ways, and was tortured some more by Oburo's henchmen too. Oburo's revenge didn't end there as well, since she had plans to sell Asagi as a product within the Chaos Arena, a battleground for unregulated fights where anything, and I mean anything, goes, even after your opponent is defeated. In the absence of Asagi's whereabouts, Sakura takes the mantle to find her sister, although she too is captured by none other than Kyosuke himself. Both Asagi and Sakura are tortured, and while it was over temporarily, Oburo makes an offer to the sisters. Whichever sister survives on a one-on-one duel in the Chaos Arena itself gets to be set free, while the other must die. Asagi and Sakura are forced to fight each other, but it comes down to a draw. So Oburo decides to spice up things and bring Kyosuke onto the fight. Asagi is forced to kill Kyosuke due to him only being a monster now, but thanks to this, she is able to kill Oburo once again, with nothing holding her back. But just when it seemed like it was over, the man behind the shadows overwatching Oburo offered Asagi to join him, but Asagi rejects the alliance and asks what is his true goal. Though the man does not give her reason, as she is only a mortal, but she may understand all in good time. Asagi and Sakura break free from the arena, although they have one loose end to take care of. Kyosuke, during his final moments to Asagi, had enough mental capacity to communicate to Asagi, revealing the truth that the elder Agawa had set up the whole scheme. Therefore, the Agawa sisters headed over to him, and at first, the elder thought he was untouchable, as Asagi is not authorized to kill him, but under the government's orders, Sakura deals the final blow. As they finish the traitor, the sisters leave, and despite what happened, Asagi's will holds strong, continuing her time as a Taimanin. On to the next installment, Taimanin Murasaki, or Makai, Kishi, Ingrid, a second OVA adaptation made by Pixiesoft, aired in 2009, with 4 episodes once again, although the bonus episode being made by Ziz, however only a shorter remaster of episode 4, and the 5th installment of the Taimanin novel franchise, developed by none other than the 2 duo groups, Anime Lilith and Black Lilith. Taimanin Murasaki / Makai, Kishi, Ingrid are more or less the same seemingly, with the novel being called Taimanin Murasaki and the OVA being called Makai, Kishi, Ingrid, though they are still the same premise as to why I lump them both together for consistency, so I'll just mention it as Taimanin Murasaki for now. Taimanin Murasaki begins with a woman introduced as Ingrid, second in command of the Nomad group, who is strolling down the streets of Tokyo one night. Once at the headquarters, we meet the presence of Edwin Black, leader of Nomad itself, and his goal being world domination. Though this time he has targeted a specific Taimanin that he wanted Ingrid to capture. However, Sabato Kiryu steals the spotlight, bringing her in, Murasaki Yatsu, the anti-demon ninja. Although pleased with the result, Black leaves the interrogation operation command under Ingrid's leadership, who Sabato has a disdain for, but he still complies as he dares not cross Edwin Black himself. Though Sabato doesn't give up so easily, as he decided to ambush Ingrid in secret and imprison her, as well as humiliating her constantly. Ingrid inquires about Sabato's betrayal, with him explaining that he more or less wants to kill Black, and he plans to use Ingrid to help him to do that. And even though she outright denies such an act, she still has no say in the matter. Ingrid is remodeled and integrated with a tumor made by Sabato's team. When Ingrid is released, he explains to her that she essentially has a second brain, though it will follow each and every one of his commands. So Kiryu gives Ingrid a choice, either to do as he says to kill Black or die, but in order to do so, she must humiliate herself with 100 men, and which she chooses the latter, with her undying loyalty to Black. But at this point, this is where both Ingrid and Murasaki's unfortunate tale align, as they both are forced to work together with a 100-man assignment Kiryu has for them. Meanwhile, Murasaki's brother Kuro makes an appearance searching for his sister, though he finds himself in deep trouble more than he can chew. After Ingrid and Murasaki complete the assignment they were given, they are once again degraded by Kiryu's new bioweapon, though the party is cut short as a boy crashes the main show, but before Kiryu knew it, that boy would be none other than Edwin Black himself. In panic, Kiryu orders his bioweapon to attack Black, as it was made literally from Black's genetical formula, being accounted to him, showing that Kiryu had no loyalty to Black since the very beginning. The Kiryu's weapon ends up being useless, as Kiro destroys it within a slash. Turns out the boy, well really Edwin Black, saved him along the way while Black was also looking for Ingrid and knows Murasaki would be with her too. Utterly defeated though, Sabato makes his last stand attacking Black, but in one strike he is incapacitated instantly. Whereas the Yatsus leave, as it isn't their business anymore. Crawling with the last bit of life, Black allows Ingrid to finish off Sabato, bursting him into flames along with his landmark too. With Sabato Kiryu wiped out the way, Ingrid remains loyal to Edwin Black forevermore. I'd like to point out this ending turned out to be a little bit more different, as it isn't a true ending, but instead an alternative ending for this OVA. Take it as you will, I guess. So for our next installment, Taimanin Asagi 2. The third OVA adaptation by Pixie Soft. Okay, scratch that, because it's actually by Ziz Entertainment. Airing in 2015, and the third novel of the franchise. However, it was only 2 episodes this time around was. Taimanin Asagi 2 is already quick on arrival, as the Ogawa sisters are seen heading to Tokyo Kingdom, an artificial island home to many demons and humans shunned away from Tokyo and society itself. Their objective is to investigate the island as Ryumon, a terrorist organization, has been suspected around the area, and to find a missing Taimanin. Once the sisters land and secure the area from the monsters, the missing Taimanin had already shown up. The name is revealed as Saya, who has been waiting for the Ogawa sisters to show up somehow. Saya transforms into an abomination of sorts, and this is when she mentions all Taimanins have a dormant ability, but Asagi refuses to listen to such nonsense. But to their disadvantage though, Saya catches both Sakura and Asagi. Asagi meets Kage, the demon side of Asagi, from within her subconscious, but their meeting is cut abruptly as Asagi is brought back to reality, being restrained. In spite of that, Oboro somehow returns. Yeah, again, I don't know why, but well, let's just continue. Sort of, since this is a clone version of her made by Ryumon themselves from the human and demon technologies. The Saya, on the other hand, is a different story. As Oboro explains it, Saya is an artificial human, reusing the base of a user's body. It basically sounds like it is a different person entirely to me, so I'm not sure if I got that explanation correct or understood it. Oboro explains more about Konochi genes, and seemingly it refers to the demon form that ascends one's power to new heights, although the ability itself is dormant. Asagi seemingly passes out again and encounters Kage the second time. Kage tries to convince Asagi to desire her power so that she can overcome her fate, though Asagi still remains hesitant. Suddenly, the sisters are displayed in front of a huge demon crowd, seemingly going to be sold as slaves, and Oboro announces to the crowd that the sisters are going to stay on stage for 3 straight days and gun through 50,000 men, sending shivers to Asagi and Sakura. After 3 days, the sisters seemingly mentally broke, and Asagi passes out again only to meet Kage standing before her in complete disappointment. Kage gives one last attempt for Asagi, and finally, she accepts Kage's power. Asagi more or less turns Super Saiyan and slashes Oboro and ruthlessly rips out Saya's heart, reducing her to ashes, and as she goes to finish Oboro, time runs out and Asagi collapses to the floor, unable to properly sustain her demon form. Though Oboro is killed by the real Oboro. More Oboros. Yeah. Well anyway, Oboro clone is pushed aside, and the real Oboro takes the mantle. Asagi questions just how she's back. It was actually clone Oboro, not Asagi. With the simple explanation that she was brought back again, now as a vampire this time. You know, at this point, Oboro just has 9 lives, since she may as well be invincible. Anyway, the Ogawa sisters are unfortunately recaptured. Again. 3 months later, Asagi and Sakura have been replaced by clone versions. Waiting for Rinto Murasaki? There isn't a Taimanin by that name. Rinto and Murasaki, well, we all know who Murasaki is by this point, so yeah. So I did some research, and this is literally supposed to be Rin Uehara, if I said that name correctly. So yeah, subs are something, I guess, but I don't know, maybe they changed her name at some point before she was a proper concept character, maybe? I don't know. Well, moving on. Anyhow, she would be coming with the intention to save him, but the real fate of the Agawa sisters are being tortured elsewhere, succumbing to their fate. Yet another ending that isn't the true ending, but alternative. Alright, so on to our next installment. Taimanin Shiranui Inyokuo no Dorei Shoufu. So as far as OVAs go, this is the latest installment, as of recording this video at least. So this one was made by Zest themselves, airing in 2021. Now, technically this OVA is sort of like a prequel to Taimanin Yukikaze, as it's sort of based on, well, that novel, since Taimanin Shiranui doesn't have a novel itself, so yeah. Regardless, there's not much to say about this one, as it starts with Shiranui already being in a bind on mission, and is immediately captured. Then she was tortured and brainwashed to the point where she literally thought she killed her own daughter, without any remorse for it, but it just turned out to be a clone dummy, making her a slave to the faction that captured her. Then after that ordeal, she is temporarily blinded, and then she finds herself being humiliated by a large group of men, and that is more or less the story. Not much to say, I guess, as it is the prequel, which brings us to the next title, Taimanin Yukikaze. Taimanin Yukikaze is the fourth OVA in the adaptation compilation we have here, with 3 episodes, and a bonus included, and was developed by Ziz again, airing on 2013, and as for the visual novel release order, the 7th installment, which, at the time, only Black Lilith made. So after Shiranui's disappearance, Asagi appointed Yukikaze, Rinko, and Tatsuro to find Shiranui. So, the trio decided to go in undercover as slaves. Honestly, that is not really our brightest idea, but, you know, just go with it, I guess. Either way, the plan was set, and they were going to infiltrate a brothel of some kind, and they would have to get their contact Zakuto, a demon, to get them in no problem. Though there always seems to be a problem in the Taimanin series, since Zakuto, to no surprise, betrays them, leading them into a trap, which pretty much both Yukikaze and Rinko are captured. Jeez, what a surprise there. Yukikaze and Rinko were both mind-altered into real slaves, and both ended up being humiliated, with Rinko being the first to fall within 2 weeks being locked in a solitary-like confinement. Tatsuro goes in to save Yukikaze and his sister Rinko, but he watches in horror after he realizes that Yukikaze is too far gone, as suddenly she enjoys getting humiliated now, which sends even more shock. With an unknown amount of time passing, Tatsuro is seen waking up in his room, and he has become a shut-in in the aftermath of a failed op, losing both his sister and the girl he loved. Nowadays, he only sees Yukikaze through humiliation videos on the internet posted by anonymous users. Though unexpectedly, Yukikaze shows up at Tatsuro's dorm, pregnant and changed mentally, as she seems to get a kick out of making fun of Tatsuro when she tells him to guess who her father is, and mocks him for watching her videos, and with that, it all ends there, with 3 members' faith broken, and all on separate paths to their fates. Yet another alternative ending that isn't the truth itself, which seems to be a running theme from now on, so yeah. That's the OVAs for you. Alright, as for the bonus episode, that is more or less Taimanin Shiranui, but a shorter version. I'm not really gonna go through it because, like I said, it's literally the shorter version, so you're not really missing anything or getting anything extra. Alright, next installment, Taimanin Asagi 3. It's the 5th OVA adaptation with 2 episodes, and Ziz coming out of the woodworks to develop the masterpiece on their best day, airing on 2016, and is the 8th novel release by Just Anime Lilith, this time around. Taimanin Asagi 3 starts off as in medias res, as Asagi can be seen cutting down monsters presumably in a nomad base, though her onslaught is interrupted by Asuka. Asuka states that she is here to save her brother, Kosuke. Yeah, very similar naming. Well, take a guess who Kosuke is related to. Kosuke is the younger brother of Kyosuke, as he seems to be in trouble. Well, who isn't in the series at this point? Earlier before the action, Kosuke seemed to be living with the Egawa sisters, and Asagi decided to take care of him due to Kyosuke's passing, though Kosuke starts developing feelings for Asagi, making complications between them. Though, back to the present. Oboro once again. Oboro. Oboro makes another appearance. Seriously? Again? Literally unkillable character at this point. Like, forget Edwin Black. Put Oboro as literally the strongest Taimanin character in the series. Cause it's like, she could just come back anytime she wants, apparently. But let's not stray away from the subject matter anyhow. So, Oboro tells Asagi that her village, Gosha Village, is under siege, with Murasaki and Sakura trying to defend it, but are overrun by not Nomad, but the government forces instead. Murasaki and Sakura found themselves captured and humiliated. Meanwhile, Oboro reveals a red flesh ball in her hand, making it known that this is Kosuke, who was turned into this form by First. Asagi is tempted to kill Oboro on the spot, but Oboro warns Asagi that she'd crush Kosuke with her bare hands before she even gets the chance to slit her throat. This causes Asagi to stand down and surrender, ensuring Kyosuke's safety first. Asagi captured once more by Oboro. Once again, the cat and mouse game never seems to die off, as Asagi is once again humiliated again. And suddenly she gets humiliated more once Murasaki and Sakura shows up, as they have been completely demonized. During the humiliation, talks of another arena is mentioned, seemingly a resurrected version of the Chaos Arena, now called the Demon Arena, taking place where Asagi has to fight both Murasaki and Sakura. She has to kill them if she wants Kosuke alive, but if she doesn't, Kosuke dies, so instead, Asagi goes to attack Black, who was watching the fight unfold. Asagi uses an ability that slows down time, but Black still saw through that and instantly shunted her down in one hit back onto the battlefield. Disappointed, Black leaves, telling Oboro can do whatever she pleases with Asagi. Half a year later, Nomad seemingly controls all of Gosha, as Oboro is seen in the academy, as well as Murasaki and Sakura, with Asagi as their slave still. At this point, Asagi has given up and accepted her fate to the point where she doesn't even care for Kosuke anymore, and now enjoys being gladly humiliated. Asuka sees this though, and isn't amused at all at Asagi, and she vows to save Kosuke herself, ending on some sort of cliffhanger, but still an alternative ending nonetheless. Onto the finale installment, Taimanin Asagi Toraware no Niku Ningyou, our final OVA, when order is the second to last beside Taimanin Shiranui, airing on 2020, and is a spin-off to the already existing Taimanin Asagi 3. This spin-off seems to extend the time between Kosuke and Asagi within the first episode, at first. Then it cuts to Asagi remembering the whole thing, as she seemingly passed out before from all the torture Oboro has given her. There's also flashbacks of Oboro receiving punishment from Ingrid, but I don't think it's really explained why or what the connection is. And as for Murasaki and Sakura, they haven't been demonized yet, so it seems it was their last moments before they were turned as demons, so I don't know. Since demonizations tend to kill anyone who goes through the transformation itself, as far as I know. Yeah, that's pretty much it of this Taimanin OVA. Not really much to say. So, guess we're moving on. So, in conclusion of the OVAs, now that we've wrapped up, well, all of them, the question that still remains is, has the OVAs fell off over the years? And to be frank here, I indeed think so, since it started strong with Taimanin Asagi 1, with episode 3 and 4 being my personal favorite, even despite the seizure-inducing scenes and the wacky, funny-looking animations that make it look very meme-worthy. Still, I think the Murakami style was gold in the majority of areas it was airing. Taimanin Murasaki was fine, but didn't stand out too much, but was still a good animation nonetheless, where Taimanin Asagi 2 was a massive jump in quality animation, which was stunning to see even for its time, whereas Taimanin Yukikaze and Taimanin Shiranui was a little disappointing titles to me, since it didn't seem like there was budget in there or something. Taimanin Asagi 3, however, I find peak of all of the OVAs that the Taimanin series has to offer, and was the best animation and also scenes content too. Just instant 10 out of 10. And so far, I think there's nothing yet that has topped, or surpasses, I should say, Taimanin Asagi 3.